Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Other People's Podcast, the first podcast ever that has nothing to do with the hosts. We want to hear about what you have going on, how podcasting helps you to grow your business, grow as a creator, whatever it could be. And I couldn't be more excited to kick off our first episode with somebody that I got to be honest, when I saw how this guy batches his content, breaks it up, uses every bit of it, I'm like, man, that guy is a true hunter. And that man is Adrian Danila. Within 5 years, Adrian has accumulated 5 podcasts that he uses to push his consulting business, multifamily consulting. Adrian didn't start big. He started at home with his computer and a microphone and just started what we like to say, spitting. Adrian talks about his Goldmine strategy, his transcriptions and uploading them so you're searchable and findable. And he also looks at it as he has money in the bank because all of his content is evergreen. He even talks about how people need to not just be a business owner, but a media company now. And if you can't handle both, you better get someone to help you out. This is a great way to kick it off. You're going to love the episode. Stick around. It's OPP, Other People's Podcast, starting now. That's one of the biggest problems we have with people. A lot of people come in, and that's really the reason we wanted to have you on, because I've never seen anybody use every bit of that animal like you do. And I mean by the animal is if you go out and hunt, you use every bit of that animal. You use every reel, you use every short, you use every piece of stuff. And we tell people all the time, if you're not utilizing, to the point, the transcriptions to all of this stuff, if you're not using that, you're wasting your money. Right? And I love that we always say all the time, whenever we see Adrian's stuff pop up, we say all the time, that guy uses every bit of his content.
As anyone should. As anyone should. Each piece of content, with each piece of content, you're one post away from 1 million followers, from 1 million views, which is not nothing. There's single videos that went viral, and now the way social media has been, the algorithms are working, right? And it started with TikTok, and everybody's trying to keep up with them because they have the best algorithm by far. So now with literally 0 followers, you could post a piece of content and then just go viral, which is incredible. I never seen such a merit-based society like social media is today. So to me, I'm thinking, how do I cram more content in? Mm-hmm. I'm looking at LinkedIn and I'm saying to myself, okay, of course I read various opinions, right? That you shouldn't exceed 3 posts a day. I'm so busy at times that I just can't stop myself to post the 4th time, even if it's late at night. And I had this, surprise to where I posted 3 times during the day. And then the 4th time is 9 or 10 p.m. I just went to a podcast, coming from here, super excited. It's late at night. And I was saying to myself, okay, do I really want this to wait until tomorrow? Mm-hmm. So I post about last night, or do I just want to make it fresh? This is what happened. And you'll be amazed. This is a 24/7 situation. It's a 24/7 business.
24/7.
Yes, because the content works when you sleep.
Yeah.
So, point in case, I shot a podcast with a good friend of mine. We met in Austin. He was my guest on a pod. He lives in San Antonio. Tony Souza, if you hear this, this is you.
San Antonio.
Yeah. So I shot this with Tony, and I'm coming back. We didn't have video immediately available, right? But we took a few shots, a few pictures. We had a common friend that actually hung out with us during the podcast. She actually watched the entire conversation, which also was very cool. And then I took one of those pictures and I posted. I posted 11 at night on LinkedIn, and I'm looking at this stuff. It's just like I guess, you go to Vegas and you see those, slot machines, the money start putting in. You just hit jackpot. And exactly like this happened, literally I would getting like hundreds and hundreds of like hits per minute. Each minute I would hit refresh, and it's like there's 20 more likes. There's like 50, 60, 100 more impressions. Almost to midnight, right? People say, oh, don't post this too late. Don't post this too early in the day. I don't think it really matters. Like, if you have a piece of content that people deem interesting, right? And it's not that, it has to be educational or fun. It could be either or, I think. You're looking at three categories here. One is going to be educational. The other one is going to be entertainment. The third one is going to be controversial. If you're able to do the perfect portion, the perfect mix of the three, you kind of like, I think that you could hit virality that way.
It's like the stars align, right?
Yeah, exactly. So with that, it's kind of like a long, I've been, weaving from what you just said, because I'm eating the entire animal. I don't leave anything on the table. I use everything. We
He's
make
the best,
soap.
guys. He's the
we
best.
make soap. We use the bones.
We cover ourselves with the...
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the way everybody should do it. It's a shame not to. And now that I am where I am today, I envision like even more stuff that I could do with the stuff that I have. I'm sitting on a pot of gold, like literally a gold mine of content and quality thoughts that I had from my guests. And one of the things that I'm in process of doing is taking all the transcripts from all the episodes that I've done and actually upload them on my website. So people that actually search for some information that was talked about out there, they don't have to watch an entire hour of content. Or like, if they're interested in a specific guest of mine, previous guest, they could just type in that name and find out like the transcript, and they could actually go to like searching by words or whatever, get really to the exact information, because YouTube is not searchable that way. Yeah, so I'm making that available. We're gonna make all the transcripts available, and I think there's a lot more to come. But I'm not sharing everything right now. Not because I don't want people to steal my secrets, but there's more to share about what we're going to do with those transcripts.
What prompted you to start podcasting? Like, were you into content before? Like, I mean, because when I met you and you walked in, you were pretty established. You have multiple pods now. You don't just have one.
So I have five. Five, yeah.
What started this, man? Why?
So a few things. I think probably a number of them, three. The first one was at that time, I wanted to exercise speaking, public speaking. And then if you've never done public speaking, it's not like, people break down your door inviting you to speak publicly. So those opportunities are very limited. And then I thought, well, the closest thing to public speaking would be like getting invited to a podcast, because you talk to the host, and then they record you and they put you out on the internet, and maybe there's hundreds of thousands of people that see that content. So that's close enough to public speaking. But I said, those are also limited. There's only so many podcasts, period. And then if I'm talking about in my circle, multifamily, they're not that many. They seem like many, but you do like 20, 30 podcasts, you're kind of done with the entire space. So I said, well, how about if I start my own? That was the next thought. So I could accelerate this, because when it's your own, like you just turn the, you could do like solo. You just flip the switch, like you just flip the switch,
and we're here,
and just go.
Yeah,
and you're like, you could go live, you could do many things with it. So that was one reason. Second reason is someone, a connection of mine on LinkedIn, wrote a post. This was over a weekend, and he said in a post, hey, if you know someone or you think that you have a great story, personal story, your story, has something that people will want to hear, reach out to me, because I would love to be able to be the one telling your story. So I commented, I said, I have no idea if my story is in any way interesting, but I'd love to talk to you about it. So he reached out via DM, and that was, and I went to his podcast. And then after the podcast said, man, you have such a great story. You should probably consider having your own podcast. Okay. So that was number 2. Number 3 was, I was looking in our space at the time. This is 5-ish years ago in a multifamily, and I realized there's a void of conversations and thought leadership and information, valuable information for people that are in a space to help themselves, to improve themselves, to be better. I'm going to explain. The industry is structured this way. You have several industry conferences, right? Mm-hmm. But then there's a very reduced percentage of people in an industry to participate to those. I don't know, maybe less than 5%. So then if you're not in a room, you're not part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. Most of the conferences do not record anything.
Really?
Yeah, they don't. So there's a lot of great content that's just dying. It's literally dying. Like you have the presenters, they speak for 30 minutes, an hour, and that's it. It dies right there, which is, it's a shame. Thousands of hours of content being wasted. So if you're not in that room, you don't get to participate or to be exposed. Companies have company-wide events where people at the site level, at the property level get invited. They're typically, once a quarter, 2-3 times a year, no more than that. There's nothing in between other than an email, other than an assignment. You got to take this, you're not building culture that way, and you're not bringing value to your employees that way. So given this situation, I'm thinking, okay, well, we could create content. I could invite people that have interesting things to say, smart things to say. They have been there, have done that, to bring them to my podcast, ask them questions, and then we put a content out there for those that typically would never have access to that particular individual to actually have a similar experience with the one that I had as a host. So that's what made me start. This was about 4 years ago.
So within 4 years, you started with just the one.
I started with the one, and the first one I started was with a free Zoom account. So I had to, make sure, and doing it on my laptop, I had to make sure that I'm only keeping it up less than 40 minutes because that's all the free Zoom account gives you. If you want more than 40 minutes, you got to get the paid. I upgraded to the paid one 6 months or something, but that was it. I knew I had 40 minutes. I had to keep it under 40 minutes and just recorded it on my, and zero editing. Like literally I would take the Zoom call, upload it on YouTube, and that was my entire podcast.
It's funny, we talk with a lot of people, and we see, the gamut. We talk to some people like you that are very seasoned, some people that have close to 1 million followers, and then we'll speak with people that are just starting out, right? And what we try to tell every single person, because a lot of people, they'll go and they'll just be so paralyzed by the process of doing it, right? So they'll try to prep so much or get teachers or, get all that, which is all great. I'm not saying anything that's bad about anything, but eventually you just got to start talking into the mic, right? Whether it's the free 40-minute version or whatever it is, we call it spitting. Unless you're spitting at the mic, you're not doing anything, right?
Sure.
And it's wonderful to hear you just go, I just did it, right? I just started doing it. They said to me, if I'm going to do this, and it's like, hey, I got the free trial and I did it. And then eventually you upgraded. Now you recommend all the time people shoot in studios, and you could see your arc, right, of how far it's come so quick. And it's pretty unbelievable. I'm so happy we're able to have you on as our first, because I think you really do. When we think about people that really embody podcasting and using it for their business, which we haven't even gotten into yet, which is the main thing. It's unbelievable. And like I said, man, you take it, and hearing that story, people out there, please, if you have any ideas about doing this or whatever it is, just do it. Do it. Start with your, like Adrian said, go in, use your computer, you get a basic free program, put it up, don't even worry about editing, and go. It'll be the worst episode you'll ever do. And everything from that will be better. Right? I tell that people all the time. Your first one's the worst. And after that, it will be better.
You're absolutely right. It only goes up from there. And it's like, look, it's like building muscle. It really is. I'm over 200 episodes in.
Wow.
And the more I do it, and with everything that's happening, like, outside of what I'm doing, like, how YouTube changes and so many things. I'm a young student of the game, really. I don't see myself as like, being like super settled, there's so much to learn. I learn every single day.
Speaking of that, since you've started this, what has surprised you about podcasting? Like, what have you been like, whoa, I didn't see that coming?
I think what surprised me was in part the fact that I would travel out of town for conferences, for places, and people will recognize me from watching the podcast, from consuming my content.
So you become a little celebrity in a sense.
In a way, I call that like a baby celebrity, right? I don't think too much about what I've accomplished in this space, but it's a lot for me. It's a lot like when you step into rooms or on a trade show floor at a huge conference, and like every step of the way, like, you will see someone that, wants to wave at you, shake hands. They know you. It's not a small thing, right? So this is industry-wide. This is a country, everywhere in the country pretty much. I can't remember lately a single place where I would just kind of like go incognito. Nobody knows who I am, right?
What an incredible way to cut through, if you think about it. Like, you go in, and I'd like to we're going to jump back to this. I want to get your background, because we we were fired out of cannon today. You and I, we went right in.
Of course.
That's the way.
That's, to me, that's the best way. Like, we don't start with like a formal introduction. Get right into it, brother.
Get right. And that's it. Those are my favorite, right? Like,
Mine
and
too.
It's a real talk.
Big time.
But I would like, we will just kind of say, like, in your background's pretty incredible. Like, it's consultant, multifamily housing. How did that start? Like, when you came, like, how did you get into that field? Give a little background.
You mean my history in the United States?
No, just your history and getting into, whatever you want to, whatever. Yeah. What's
No,
Adrian's
I just wanted
history?
to make sure that I understand how far back should I go.
I was born back, now, whatever. Where does Adrian's story start for Adrian?
Yeah, so the second part of my life, which is, me in the United States, started in 2003. I was fortunate enough that I was the beneficiary of a program, the U.S. diversity visa. We came in Romania. My previous life, I was an attorney. I went to law school, graduated,
really?
and passed my bar exam. Never practiced as an attorney, but as a legal counselor for a couple of like government entities, I worked for a few years. So we came here. I didn't speak any English.
You didn't speak any English?
I knew about like 30, 40 words, but I wouldn't like say them on a camera. Right?
All the words everybody gets to know first.
Exactly. The words everybody learns first in a language, right? And imagine you're new to the country, you're new to, the new customs, how people do things and everything. And then you have to learn everything, learn the customs, learn your ways around, learn the language. And also you got to work too, because when someone looks at you, you don't speak the language, you don't have any background, like they don't have anybody to, call to check on you for references. So the first 6 months were, a little, I'll say interesting, challenging, but nothing like, nothing out of the, our ordinary. It's just, your regular immigrant story. I used to work with, folks that helped us when we first got here. We used to do construction. So, we made a living. And then 6 months in, I got a part-time job at an apartment community. Then the next 20 years, I moved my way up from like groundskeeper, moved up the ladder up until I became a vice president of maintenance and facilities for a company that owned and managed 32,000 apartments.
Wow.
That was the largest portfolio that I oversaw. And then after I've done that, the company sold to another company, and I helped with the transition. After the transition was done, they laid me off because it didn't make sense for them to like have me travel oversee portfolios on the West Coast. They already had people there. And at that time, I said I kind of like reached the top of what I could reach in my line of work. I say I want to try now to make an impact for more companies. In other words, instead of just working for one employer at a time, I could do advisory and just work for 2, 3, 5 different companies and like affect change in a different way, right? At scale, a larger scale. So that actually made me start my own business, and now I do consulting in property management, but also part of my business is the podcast, right? The 4 out of 5 podcasts are multifamily related.
It's incredible, man. So it's to see you go, you're like groundskeeper to VP, right? It's what an awesome story. And it just goes to show just work at anything and
it's also America here too, because people work hard in other countries too, right? But the upward mobility that we have here in American society, I'm not aware of anywhere else in the world. The opportunities. So just for everybody that's watching, if you really question if the American dream still exists, I can, you're looking at it. Not that I, made like tens of millions of dollars. No, I made a life beyond, my wildest dreams, and I've done things that I would have never thought possible. Like, 20, 25 years ago, I would never think that, I'm not a podcast, be known by thousands of people, go places. Never, like, that was never in a plan. It just happened to work out the way.
It's nice to hear nowadays, man, that the American dream is not dead.
No, not at all.
And it's I never felt it was, and it's just, but you see so much out there, and I don't want to get into this, but like it's nice to hear, no, this it worked well for me, right? And it's
still works. It works very well.
It works very, very well. And with that, what would you say to the podcasting? Because I'd say that's become probably one of the biggest parts of your life now, right? Really getting your message out.
A very important part.
What's your time investment in that, would you say?
Daily, weekly, monthly. I'll just say I work, generally speaking, right? In my business, 12 to 16 hours a day. Sometimes a full day on, probably like Saturday, Sunday. So probably you're looking at 80 to 100 hours a week. I'll say between shooting podcasts, posting, and all of that, I think a good probably like 30 hours maybe a week, sometimes more than that.
But it is your whole communication for your company.
It's a good part of it, not everything, right? So, but podcast is kind of like everything revolves around podcast, right? Everything that we do adjacent, right? Like written content revolves in good part around the podcast. So yeah, I will say that's the central piece.
When we always used to say, coming from I came from the advertising world, and you would look at all of your stuff how to work in synergy with each other, right? And it's the podcast gives that perfect like seed to kind of spawn everything else off of, right? In the sense of like you could do your newsletter off your podcast, you could do everything kind of off that podcast. So it does kind of work as that beacon, right, in the middle to go from that. And you take it, your main focus with that beacon is LinkedIn, correct?
Yes. I'll say 98% of folks that I'm doing business with, or I want to do business with, are on the platform, really. So not to say here that we're not playing on other platforms. We also post, not as heavy, but we also have presence on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
But your main is definitely LinkedIn.
100%.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is our 90% of our focus is LinkedIn.
Has podcasting or any of your podcasts kind of helped you with clients? Like, because I see you, whenever we talk, you're always bringing people in to be on Maintenance Masters, and right, it's what we shoot here. How has it helped you to close deals, to move deals, to advance somebody, like just the pure fact? Because I know it has for us, like little things that just kind of like people pop open, they pop up when they hear it, right?
So I'll say this to everyone out there that's watching. Content in general and podcast in particular is the difference between knocking on a door soliciting business and having business knocking on your door, wanted to do something with you. Instead, you're chasing business. It's kind of the other way around. You turn the tables, and then through the content that you produce, thought leadership, whatever you do, if it's of quality, right? Again, like I don't want everyone to believe that if you're just gonna show up, like that's gonna be enough. It's been a very long process for me, which I'm still like super early in the game, and things change always so fast. So I'm always like student, still a junior in it. But then you also have to produce stuff that people wanted to consume. People wanted to read. If it's written content, people wanted to watch. If it's video content, everything that's like less than that, I won't discourage you to continue, but I will say that you will really have to like look at yourself in a mirror with a very critical eye and say, there's really room for better here, right? It's not the algorithm. It's not the algorithm here. Like, it's not somebody else that hates me or whatever. It's purely the fact that the market doesn't deem your content as valuable. It's the way it is.
That's a great way to
It's
say
the
it.
only true.
And it's funny. So with that said, what is the best type of content that works? What's the best video stuff that you've noticed that kind of pops off? Have you seen like those seem to work? Or
I think it varies. There's messaging varies too, right? I think things that I do because I do everything because I'm passionate, including everything that I do for business. I don't look at it as just checking the boxes because they're making me money. So I love everything that I do, and that's like a huge plus because I wake up sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning and I don't stop until 10 a.m., 11 p.m. because I get so excited. Like, for me, it doesn't feel like work. So I think that's kind of one thing. Be passionate about what you do. Like, if you're really doing it like to check a box, I think you could still get through, but that hasn't been my personal experience. Like,
it shows. You can tell.
100%. And the reason why the in-person podcast is like no other experience that could be replicated is for the same reason, because what you say here, your body language, your face expression and everything, the way you word words transpires through those cameras out there. People could actually feel the energy, the emotions in a room. It's totally different than like a online experience. And I've done plenty of that, right, online, to tell the difference. And I could tell you, unless there's a incredible challenge that I can meet someone face to face, I try to avoid every single opportunity to do virtual. Once I learn what in person does, like, I don't want to go back to do any virtual anymore. unless I really have to.
It's really hard too, because a lot of people, you have your guests come in to shoot. Whenever we've shot you, they've come in. Kansas City, Teddy. Melvin was in your Iowa roofing guy, right? We just had Sean in from, where was he?
Sean, New York.
New York, right? So and you've always been a huge component of saying, I want it live, right? Like, and there's a lot, Riverside, what's the other one? StreamYards. There's a bunch of programs out there. And I'm not knocking any of them. They're great, right? But like, there's something different about being here.
It's a different product. Like, what I mean is, like, there's two different things. They don't belong in the same family, okay? Just so you understand. They're both called podcasts, but they're not even like step siblings, step sister brothers. They're two different universes. I promise you that. An in-person podcast versus an in-studio, there's almost nothing in common, right? There's no feeling, no emotions being transmitted, very little, right? Versus what's here, the real deal.
You can actually feel, and it's true. Like, and it's like, and I consider you a friend. I consider you an acquaintance, right? But you can truly feel. We work with some clients, and they have, just by design, they can't all be in the same. It just would be impossible. But you can truly feel, we've been on to help produce them, and you'll be sitting in the background, and someone will be on, and they'll be doing their stuff, and you could see, and then they all come into the camera. But like with us, we met you downstairs, we talked, we had that, like, the energy started immediately. Just the fact that when we said, we couldn't even wait to start talking,
100%.
right? Like, to the point where I had to go back. Well, hold on a second, Adrian. Let's give it a little context. It happens like this every single time. If they truly care, I've had people come in and it's like, come on, man, come on, give me something, right? But if they truly care about it, it shouldn't be a problem at all, right? And it should. And the difference, if you haven't done one in person, guys,
I encourage you to try it. And if you had a narcotic experience, it's the getaway drug. Once you do one, it'll suck you in. If you're really passionate about this, because if this in-person experience doesn't move you, probably you shouldn't be doing podcast. Just, I'll say the all honest truth, right? You shouldn't be doing podcast. So I think that'll be like a very great way to tell if you wanted to do this for a long time. If you're gonna be investing time in it, come here,
come to Skutch.
Come here, spend an hour or two in the studio, just do a freestyle or do anything, right? Look at a video after that. And if you didn't enjoy the experience, probably podcast is not your thing. You shouldn't be, spending more time doing podcast.
And it's what I noticed with a lot of people come in and they'll say stuff like, I'm just so nervous being in front of the camera, or I'm so nervous this and that. And I'm like, I promise you, sit down. And they're like, how do we start? Talk. Just say, and you won't even do you even realize any of the stuff's even here anymore? Like, and it's such an unbelievable organic feeling when it really kicks in, right? And guys, 90% of the time it happens, right? Like, if you're with somebody that truly cares about their podcast, it will happen, right? And you're into what they do, it shouldn't be a problem at all. Try and get out there. Shoot in a studio, even if it's you and your friend getting together to shoot together get in the same room. The outcome will be exponentially better. So please, if you get a chance to do it, do it. And with that, how do you then judge your ROI from your podcasts?
I believe that there's a balance in universe, right? If you're gonna put a lot of positive stuff in, there'll be a lot of positive stuff coming out. I don't judge in terms of how many sponsorships I get. Of course, although I have to be mindful, right? Because we have cost, we travel, there's a lot involved, and we wanna make sure that what we're doing it's profitable. But for the most part, I'll say that this is a driver for other things, right? for exposure, for opportunities, not just business, because this is not just about money, but you get in front of folks that probably without the podcast you would never had the opportunity to. I've been a passionate networker since I was, as long as I remember, probably 5 years old. Really, I had a story there with remembering that this is why I'm a networker. But yeah, that's an opportunity that opens a lot of doors again. Don't just think in terms of like, money, I'm getting rich. Yeah, that's part of it, right? Could be. It depends how you play though, right? Because if you're just, if you're just doing it to go to the motions, just to produce volume, it's not going to get you in a good direction. But at least you get the opportunity to speak with people, getting to know them at a, I'll say, deeper level than just speed dating. Because you see, we go to conferences, we meet, we have coffee, and everybody's like on a run, right? So you spend 10 or 15 minutes. I don't spend 10 or 15 minutes on a podcast. My podcast, I make a point to have them for at least 1 hour. And I actually done a format now to like the ones we shot here in the studio that we went for 2 hours. I told my guest, you might as well, if you're flying all the way from Kansas City or New York or Iowa to see me, you might as well just be ready for a 2-hour conversation. We're gonna
use
talk
the bathroom now.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about as much as we can in 2 hours, right? And we might go longer than that. But be prepared, because I'm planning for this to be a 2-hour conversation.
Well, that's you and everything in life, right? You are taking that animal and you're using every bit of it, no matter what it is. Whether they come in here, you're getting every bit of them in here.
Yep.
Then you're getting every bit of the work from your content. And it's, guys, this is all evergreen. This stuff's evergreen. Like, that's what we want to make a point of. It lasts forever. And this man is one of the best at not just utilizing his guests when he has them in-house, but utilizing that content after. That's the ROI. The ROI is what you've created with it. Because it never ends, right? You said, I have a pot of gold. You said that. I have a treasure of all this content that could be reworked, reused, repurposed. It's evergreen, right? And that's to me is like the ROI, right? And you can't measure it money-wise or views-wise. It's because it's there's so much of it. It seeps into so many things. But when you look at it from, what it does, kind of back to building your brand, it's priceless.
Yeah, I'll put it this way: do good content, and you would never have to make a cold call again. When it comes to business,
bro,
this is only one of the benefits, right? If we're talking about business, but in terms of life and relationships, I built incredible relationships with people that I never thought that I had the opportunity to get in front of. This is very fulfilling in a huge number of ways, right? And then what I think that not just me, right? Because this is kind of like a selfish approach. What I have gotten out of it, but we're getting feedback from the audience, people that are actually consuming the podcast, saying that hell yeah, like. I love that, or that was like incredible. That was very inspirational. Or that was like, wow, I had no idea that was, going on. But thank you for bringing it to life.
We've had when you had Melvin on, I remember listening, and I was sitting in the control room, and he was talking about, he came out, he was like, when'd you get your roof checked? When'd you last get your roof checked? Melvin is a roofer. Hey, Melvin, if you're out there,
What's up, Melvin?
Melvin, loved you. If you need your roof done, Melvin's your Iowa roofing guy. And if you're in Iowa, get your roof done through Melvin.
He's now covering Atlanta too.
Is he really?
Yeah, he works for a company that actually covers Atlanta. So if you're a homeowner in Atlanta, Melvin will hook you up. He'll get you taken care of.
It's great. He was great. But he said, where was I going with the Melvin story? Oh my God, I forgot where I was saying about the Melvin story. We might have to cut that. I forgot where I was going.
It's all good.
It's what was I saying? I don't remember, pal. I'm sorry. I could totally lost track on that one. So reset. We'll cut. I'm gonna kick another question then.
Sure.
All right. Here we go. What's your favorite guest you've ever had?
I think this I will do the memory an injustice, right? If I would say my favorite guest, I had several guests, and I'm gonna name a few, right? But again, the list is not limited to these individuals because it's a very, very long list. But I will say I had a remarkable. We had actually several episodes, I think 3 or 4 now. My very good friend Tony Souza. We always have great conversation, and therefore it becomes very good content. At least in my opinion, right? I enjoy like rewatching and everything. I also had Jack Daly on a show. Jack Daly is a internationally known sales coach. I think he's approaching 80 years old. He might be like 79 now. Incredibly inspiring story. At like 58 or something, he started Ironman. He has completed several of them. A few years back, he had a serious health challenge. He was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and then he took care of it. He beat it, and then I think he's still very. I see him, I follow him on social media. Still very active, but a lot of nuggets. He's like an impressive guy, right? He speaks in nuggets, and he's like very surgical. Like almost everything that he says becomes memorable. He's another one of my favorites. Another one, Steve Halsey. He's a multifamily industry executive that ran a number of multi-billion-dollar companies. A incredible, humble leader, and he used to be a football coach. University of Utah. And then he turned into real estate and made an incredible impact on our industry. We had him on a podcast twice. I just had Chris Finley. He also is a CEO of a large multifamily investment and development company. He started a nonprofit Entryway, which helps people in situational homelessness to get back on track by pairing them with apartment management companies that offer them jobs and housing. And then there's a furniture rental company, Court, that comes in and like fully furnishes the apartment. It's an incredible program all throughout the country, very inspirational. And then I also had a pleasure to have a guest on a podcast, a gentleman that he's a brilliant mind. He has hundreds of things that he invented throughout his life. But he invented what it's now known as a Windows Media Player. Yeah, he sold it to Bill Gates. he sold it to Bill Gates.
Hey man, come to your podcast here.
That's an amazing story out there. Those are the first, a few that come to mind. But again, I don't do any justice by the list is very long. Out of the 200 plus episodes that I have, shot so far, I have a very, very long list of like amazing conversations, right? Probably exceeds 100 people, for sure.
And that's what I remember the Melvin thing. So when you guys were having the conversation, and you said you learned something from every talk, and you said you had great conversations. Melvin said, "Wait till you see the robots putting the roofing shingles on," and I was like, "There's robots putting roofing shingles on?" He's like, "No, and they're not like a machine. It looks like humanoid robots." And I remember that yep. Like you said, you always pick up these little things, and I'll remember that to this day. Going, how creepy is it going to be when there's humanoid robots laying stuff out? To your point, everything brings a great.
It's here. Yeah,
it's pretty impressive. So what's the biggest mindset shift people need to make for video podcasting, you think? Like, because a lot of,
I think they, in their mind, they're overthinking the process. I think that they're looking from outside, looking in, and maybe look at, folks that have done successful podcasts. They see a fancy studio, or they see just a studio, or whatever, and they get intimidated. They think, how am I gonna be on camera? I just tell them all, like, look, bro, you could do a podcast on your phone, like literally, you could go live, like, use your StreamYard app, and you could do, like, I've done that. So we actually have done, like, at a few conferences, my partner and I, last year we did a LinkedIn live events to where we connected my phone, only on StreamYard, and we basically filmed ourselves going to people and talking to people at the event on a trade show floor, and that was a podcast. We went live for an hour, sometimes for close to 2 hours. Another time, there's nothing to it. Like, it's just a conversation where there's like a monologue, because it doesn't have to be a conversation. It's just like, think about you. You have like so many quality thoughts go through your mind every day. If you try to get them out, just speak at a camera, share your thoughts at a camera. That's a podcast, right? Told to a friend, told to someone, told to a stranger. That's a podcast. The fact that you're going to have a camera filming you, it doesn't mean anything. If you really think that there's no cameras filming you every step of the way, you're living in denial. We're like, what we consider like 20, 30 years Big Brother, we're way past that. We are way. Even your refrigerator is probably filming you right now. If you're in a kitchen, probably has a hidden camera. For sure is listening to you. I'm sure of that. But then it's probably filming you too. Maybe not filming yet, but it's more of a figure of speech, right, that I'm trying to use here. But the reality is cameras are everywhere. So you have to be very careful how you behave. Like, if not, you're going to show up on TikTok, on like, funny videos or whatever. You're going to go viral, but, maybe not in the best way. But what's the difference between somebody else filming you with their phone, knowingly or not knowingly, or you just having a camera and just have a conversation while you're filmed? It's the same thing. So I just say just go out there and do it, like, and don't judge yourself too hard. Like, I sucked. I still suck every now and then. I'll say, maybe often. I don't know.
He doesn't suck.
I just, I look at a production post. I do what I call a post-mortem. So I started doing this a few weeks ago. So everything that we're producing or we're putting up for the week on YouTube, I get in my living room on a Friday evening, and that's kind of how I relax for an hour, 2 or 3. I just put it up and run the conversations we had, the podcast we did for the week. I run them on my big screen TV, and I just watch them on YouTube and kind of like learn what went well, what didn't. It's very helpful.
And it's to that point, I think, because I actually questioned, like, how would you recommend someone get started? You kind of just said it. Yeah. Check your ego and humility at the door. Like, just don't feel like, oh my God, I have to feel, and oh my, I don't look like. I remember today I was in the shower and I was shaving my head to get ready, and I was like, oh, I had like a weird, like almost like a red mark. I'm like, I don't care. Like, is it gonna show? I was like, maybe Adrian will let me sit on his side, so it won't be. And I was thinking to myself, right? And then you have to it comes in your head and has to go right out. Like, you cannot think about. You have to think about the process of, and the more you do it, the less you'll even notice it's kind of happening. It's funny, like so many people put on, oh, I don't look right, or I don't feel right, or it's not.
Well, at times things might not go as well as planned, and they don't. They will not. Like, don't beat yourself down for it. Like, we have short memories nowadays, right? There's a few things that actually live through centuries, where decades. It's one and done. Like, just move on. Do it and move on. Don't give it too much thought. Don't be too stressed out about how is this gonna look. The more you stress about, probably the worse you're gonna make it.
The worse it's gonna look.
The more relaxed you are, and like, let's bring it on. You have the bring your own attitude. Probably the better is gonna be that final product. a conversation.
We had some of the guys from the Challenge and MTV come in and shoot, and it was pretty impressive because I mean those and we had a guy Johnny Bananas that's pretty big on MTV, and we were just talking to him outside, and something had come up, and he's like, I don't remember what it was. We were talking about, I guess, topics or whatever, and he goes, man, I was canceled twice this year already, and like not like us like worrying about a little, canceled twice, right? Like big time stuff. And you look at that, you put yourself in that shoes going, man, it's hard for me to get in front of the camera. This man is getting, right? So you put yourself I put myself into perspectives. If Johnny can do that to this level and getting beaten up, right, on like massive national, I can get in front of a camera and have a conversation with somebody, right? Like that's how I always get myself to sit there and go, if he could do it, and he's dealing with being on MTV and all this other stuff and having millions of followers, me with my little couple of hundred shouldn't have a problem, right? If you put it in perspective like that, this man can go, almost canceled twice this year. What are you talking about? Move on. You look at it like, then I can mess up. Then I can say, right? It puts you into that same, right? It gives you perspective.
Even things that you might be judging yourself on, saying, that was messed up out there. People might interpret a different way. They might look at it and say, yeah, I've done that before too. I screwed up that way too. I love it because it's human.
It's human.
It's human.
It's human, my brother.
And this brings, I guess, another thought. It's a very good reason why TV, the way we know it, classic TV is dying. And there's no way around it. And podcasting and YouTube is growing, like by the day is growing in incredible pace, because people are craving real, unscripted, unfiltered conversations. They don't want to see the sanitized content, the super post-produced content. They just want to see people, like being humans. Especially now in advent of AI, because everybody's talking about technology, artificial intelligence, and these technologies, taking over and, leaving people without jobs. I think more than ever, now it's important for us to remember that we're human. And one of the ways to express is really podcast. I strongly believe it's a form of it's an amazing form, very powerful form of expression, is podcast.
I follow a good amount of podcasts just being in the industry, shooting. And a lot of the stuff I'll find, like I watch this one, it's Billy Corrigan from Smashing Pumpkins, does a podcast, and he has all these people on it. It's just so unbelievable to watch, and you think you know somebody if you're a fan, right? Like I'm a fan of certain stuff, and like I'm a super fan. And then you see that person be themselves, and you're like, I had no clue, right? It takes that, something about seeing them on a stage or on TV or on a movie or whatever it is, and then you take them and you whittle them down to just a couple hours of a conversation, and that person really comes out, and it's kind of like, wow, I never saw that person became human to me now, right? I don't like and like everybody puts people on pedestals, but maybe for a second they just became off and they were like you, right? That's what I love. Like I love watching that stuff and going, that dude's like me, like he was talking about like writing a song, and he's like, yeah, I stole that intro from Kiss. It was blah, blah, blah from Love Gun or whatever. And you listen to it, you're like, oh my, and you think this guy was like, no, I stole that. Or Dave Grohl talking about how but the intro to Nevermind is from something like Sly and the Family Stone, blah, blah. And you listen to it, and you're like, and it makes him real. Because it makes him think like you, going, I would have done that too, going, I love that, so I'll put it in my song I like. Or a painting, or fixing a car, or whatever that podcast might be about, makes that person now like you, right? Because you see how they got to things. It takes all of the armor away. And it starts to fall off as the podcast goes on, right? You could see them start to warm up. Like I always told you, I said, I have to shoot you, right? Because you get comfortable and you relax. And you reset this time. But I can always see there he is. Like you see him just kind of, right? And like to your point, television's dead. movies, geez, I don't even want to get started on movies. They're horrible now. Like, you can't see anything good.
Well, it's very funny that you're bringing movies, right? I started this. It became a tradition in my house with my son. I think like 5-6 years ago we started blocking off Saturday afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
This is just us time. We don't. Nobody calls. Nobody does anything. It's just him and I watching movies. And he was, he's about to turn 8. He was more than 5 years. He was like 11, 20, 12 years old. And then I got him exposed to movies, but very deep movies, not anything like entertainment, superheroes. Now, we don't watch that stuff. I mean, he might watch some of that on his own time, but when we watch the deeper stuff, Godfather, Once Upon a Time in America, Pulp Fiction, The Usual Suspects,
Bronx
Seven.
Tale.
Yeah, Bronx. We watched those. Casino. We watched those probably like 5, 6, 7 times each, and I don't mind going back and rewatching because there's so little out there that's being produced that's even halfway decent. It's an embarrassment. Like, to me, I'm looking at the stuff and it's so embarrassing. Like, including stuff that's like, coming up with a, big, like, I guess promotion and everything. I can't resist more than 5 minutes. I had to like turn it off. I had to go, watch something else. So you're absolutely right. I feel for the industry because I'm a passionate movie watcher, right? Incredible stuff that's been made 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and like after the 2000s. I don't think that the industry has a whole lot to show for. Unfortunately, everything's so like it's kind of like produced from just very low. I think I just don't understand. Well, and there's also reason because the ratings are plummeting too. Like, people are not watching this stuff anymore.
You think people are just running out of ideas?
Not to even get into that because they keep recycling stuff. Like, a good storytelling, man.
We're both like
a good storytelling, man. Like, there's always out there. Like, look, if you're doing movies, if you're in Hollywood or like you're just doing movies, let me tell you something. Watch some podcast, bro. Like, literally watch some podcast. Pick up on some great storytelling, man, and it'll make you a movie. And I could promise you that I'll watch that type of stuff.
Well, pal,
1,000 times.
This is what this podcast is about, right? It's about other people's podcasts and their passion about why. And I'm knowing more about you. I started this because Marn, when I was looking for something new to do, said, you've always loved movies and film. Do it. Like, learn. That's why we got that big camera, right? And it just fell into this, right? Because this became, I could shoot a movie, but it's not gonna, right? But like this, I can actually bring people's stories and messages and let them tell, right? It is the way. There's so much. It's such a weird mindset to see it shift from something like when I would, man, what was it? Weird Science was on today, like the old '80s Weird Science, like all those, like what was it? What was that guy's name? That was John Hughes, right? All those Breakfast Club and all those movies, like you could, all of that has the mindset of sitting there to watch that and to take that in, right? Like I remember my high school career, I thought was going to be like that, right? And then you get there and you're like, it's a little different, right? But it gave you this illusion and something to think about. That's what podcasting does now, right? It gives you that look into something where I'm a middle schooler in high school. What's it going to be like? Watch The Breakfast Club. It gave me an idea, right? Or like kind of how stuff looked. That doesn't happen in cinema anymore. Like it's not a snapshot into a day in the life of, or just like, even if it's fantasized and fake, it still doesn't bring out any type of awe in you. That's what, like I said, to my point about the Billy Corrigan podcast, like it makes me sit there and look at him and go, oh, wow. Like the awe is there again, right? The excitement is there again. And you don't get that from anything. anything anymore except podcasts.
That's where it's at, brother. That's where it's at. I'm 100%, man. I don't know what the future looks like, but I know the present, and that's where the present is at in a podcast. Also, I want for people to think about competition, right? When you're thinking about like making it to YouTube, it's incredibly hard, right? And I'm not one to say that I'm successful. I'm still a beginner there, but making a world of podcast, it's easier than just about everything else. Like when it comes to like building a brand, building a name, something consistent, because believe it or not, there's not so many podcasts out there. Like worldwide, I think active ones are like 700,000.
Yeah, it's not many at all.
Yeah, which is not a lot, but they don't produce a lot of content. And most of the podcasts don't go past the second, third episode. They die. They just, they tried for a couple of episodes and then they just kill them. So I actually had one because when I first started, I thought that I should be doing my first podcast in audio, and I used one of the audio apps, which was kind of handy, right? The 3-to-1 podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that I buried. It's still out there, but I buried it. I did probably like 5-6 episodes.
Like my bald one?
Yeah.
Like my bald podcast?
Yeah. And it was, it only lasted 5-6 episodes, so I could see how that happened. But I went to like different things. I upgraded to video, right? You could always get audio from video, but you can't get any video from audio. So, when you get a video, you're going to have that, audio file that you put on a podcast platform, and, you do your transcripts with AI and all that. There's just so much that you could mill from like one piece of 1 hour conversation, 2 hour conversation.
You're the king. You're the mill king.
I'm kind of like I'll say like a contender or something like that.
You're up there, bro.
I wish I had a team with like, 2-3 more people. And it's going to happen one day. It's the natural progression of things. But with a couple, like 2-3 more people, I have so many things in mind that we could do with all this content that we're producing that it will blow people's minds. Like, we could like scale this, triple the amount of like content that we're putting out. We could triple that.
Yeah, I might know a company that could help you out. I'm just saying. One more quick question before I get to this. If you could go back and do it all different, would you change anything today about getting into podcasting? Would you kind of go down a different road, maybe start a little different? What would you do different?
Well, considering that for me was more than anything a matter of resources, right? So I didn't start with, sponsors. I was a W-2 employee. You couldn't even go because, it's a conflict of interest there, right? So you don't want your employer to feel that there's anything fishy out there. You're hitting people for money to sponsor. So it was strictly just a passion for, me having conversations with people and also letting others into our conversations. Basically, that's what it was. Back to the question, if I would do something different, it's kind of hard, right? If I had the same resources, probably I'll follow the same path. Find a little more money, upgrade to like a full Zoom account, paid Zoom account, so I could go for an hour. Find a few $100, buy a camera. I don't think that's, I don't think that's kind of like a concern. You could literally start with a Zoom account and your laptop camera, and do that for as long as you feel comfortable. Like I keep saying, and I've said this a few times throughout the conversation, that these are two different worlds, but everybody starts somewhere, right? So you build a muscle, you start building the muscle virtually. And then, when the opportunity comes and, you have a, chance to share in a studio or with some, decent cameras, or to buy yourself some cameras and like shoot stuff on location, try that. But don't wait until that moment comes, because realities in life were never prepare for what's coming. And then if you're gonna wait for the perfect situation, you're never gonna start anything. So I encourage you to just hit that record button and just keep rolling.
And to that point, don't waste your money on new stuff, because to like what Adrian said, a lot of people get into this stuff, they get all excited, and then they're like, nah. And then it all ends up on Facebook Marketplace. So seriously, like, look out there on Facebook Market. Wonderful place to get started, but you don't need anything more than your laptop and your mic on your laptop. You can start that. We have friends that she started in her closet, because she sat in her closet with her computer and just did it in her closet. And I love that. And don't ever look at that stuff as bad. To me, it's all receipts. It shows where you came from, and there's nothing stronger. But you remember this studio looked different when you first saw it, right? It was a little. And as we kept going over the year, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's exactly what will happen. But unless you start, and guys, there's room out there. I'm telling you, the next Rogan or, Jay Shetty or any of these people they haven't even been discovered yet. And I think that, to our point, 700,000-esque, that are active, how many have just fallen off? I think Martin actually has, it's like 1.5 million, and then of those, only a half made it. 750,000 of those, not even that many are putting out. And all of the big media companies are putting their money towards Netflix, putting their money towards podcasting. All these guys are starting to put it. So, guys, if you ever out there had any type of, this is the time, this is it, do it. Sit down in front of your computer, take Adrian and mine's advice, and start to shoot. It's the best way you can go.
100%. Gary Vee said this, and he keeps saying it, and I love it. Every business should consider, not seriously consider, it's a must for you when you build your business plan, is to build it to where you're a business and a media company. Whatever you do for business, you're two businesses. You will always build two businesses unless your business is a media company. If that's the business, that you only have one business. Everything else that's not a media company is gonna be that business and a media company attached to it. That's the only way you're gonna penetrate the markets. And I want to share a few thoughts here of what I'm seeing as being a practitioner, right? Not by whoever says something on YouTube or on a podcast. So I did a podcast with a young man from Colorado, and we did it virtually because I couldn't travel there. It didn't make sense. So after the podcast, I went to StreamYard and took a screenshot, used that as a picture for LinkedIn, and typed something about our conversation. A week later, my editor, which is overseas in Romania, has gotten to post-production, and then he needs to write like a title for the video to put it up and just release it. And then he searches by the young man's name. And then he searched the Google AI search, pulled that post of mine from a week ago entirely, and use my words that I use in a post as a source of truth. So basically what I've done with that post, I wrote that young man's resume. Imagine how powerful is this. If you don't build your own stuff, somebody else is going to build it for you. And it's not always going to be pretty. Do you really want that? Do you really want that? Like, for real, do you want? Go for it. But I'm telling you. Secondly, if you don't build a meaningful social presence with content that actually people want to stop and consume, watch the video, read the copy, like, comment, share, you're not going to be visible, right? The old way of Google search with a bunch of blue links is disappearing. I do 95% of my search now on ChatGPT. And I don't search. ChatGPT doesn't give me, it gives me links too if I ask it to. But for the most part, it gives me a comprehensive answer in 30 seconds for things that it'll take me an hour to search on Google. Google search is that. So is this like, paid search, not completely dead. It's still working, but its power diminishes by the day. People now search on ChatGPT. So if you're on the other side of ChatGPT, the business that wants to be discovered via ChatGPT, you had to start yesterday. Yesterday was the best day for you to start, but the second best day is today. All right, you must start putting out meaningful content about what you're doing in a business, about what you're passionate about. People do business with people. You put out great content and you get good interaction, then that's going to lead to your business becoming discoverable by ChatGPT. This is how this thing works. It's the most meritocracy type system that I've seen in my lifetime at scale. At scale. I was just looking at, like simply on my LinkedIn the other day, and I had an average of, 67 something impressions in a week period. That's like close to 10,000 a day, 9,000. And I reached out to a number of people. I extrapolated that. I did it times 52. How much would that be if I keep this trend? And the number comes up to over 3 million impressions and way over 1 million people reached. You can never do that in your entire life. And I could promise you that you don't have the funds to reach out to that million of people. Some companies do, right? Most people don't. Think about it. You could do this for free. You could do it organically free. Like it's free, it's free. All it takes is your time. Some Armin von Buren here with us. I thought I had it on mute, but apparently not.
Yeah, that's
so.
Right.
Really consider this. Start making content immediately. And the advantage of doing podcast and video is that you could always turn that into repurpose it into several other ways.
Shorts, reels, you name it. Sizzle reels,
newsletter.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Is how you take the transcription and put it into a newsletter.
Yeah.
That's when we do that. It's just like, what? You didn't even see that one coming, right? In a sense of and that reinforces to the point those crawlers out there for ChatGPT and stuff see that first. Like we've had a lot of people that say, and it's funny, you put in ChatGPT, what's one of the best ways to market my company? The first thing that'll pop up, podcast. Because it can be utilized into the transcription stuff, and it feeds those crawlers, and it feeds them to find you, right? And it's the best way to get, like you said, someone's going to make your story, make sure it's you, because it might not come out the way you want. And this is the best way to do that, to represent yourself.
100%. It's kind of like a widespread disease in the industry that I'm in. I told to very high-level executives of companies that are worth billions of dollars. I told to one recently that, you probably had their products in your house here. And I asked them, what's your biggest challenge? And they told me, they were very honest and transparent. They said, nobody knows what we do in multifamily. This goes for a multi-billion company, multi-billion dollar. So if they have that issue with visibility, imagine what issue has with visibility the small mom and pop that just starts right now. Their way to get through, it's not the only way. It's not the only way, but I'll say the cheapest way for any business to get through is to start creating content. That's the cheapest way and the most effective, really.
It's true. It's true. And with that, we're going to wrap this up. Where can people find you, man, on YouTube and stuff? Let's give them all the...
LinkedIn, Adrian C. Danila. I'm on LinkedIn. I love to connect there with y'all. And we're on YouTube. It's Multifamily X Media. That's our main channel. We also have a secondary one, which we're not publishing a lot on. It's Multifamily X Media highlights. So we have those channels. We're also on other channels like TikTok and and Instagram and Facebook, but those are kind of like secondary for us. So Adrian C. Danila on LinkedIn. And then if you're connecting with me on LinkedIn, like my entire ecosystem is there. From there, we could connect. I could direct you anywhere where we post. And also all the major podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music and everything.
And guys, I strongly suggest look him up on LinkedIn if you truly want to see a man that uses every bit of his content. And like I said, that's a big thing for me as people come in and they're like, I'm like, man, you're leaving meat on the bone. You're leaving a lot of meat on the bone. You're not cutting it up. You're not processing any of this. Adrian's a master. Adrian is a master. So if you get a chance to see him on LinkedIn, guys, check him out. Send him a follow. Reach out to him. He's incredible at what he does. And I have a feeling he wouldn't have a problem at all talking to somebody about how do I get started. Because there is not a bigger component of podcasting than you. Like, honestly.
I appreciate it, brother. It was so great to be here, and thank you for the invite.
Yeah, this is just the first time. You'll be on again with us.
Oh, I'll come back anytime.
I know
I'll come back anytime. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in the world, and I think it's important to just kind of like, to freestyle and talk about what's happening out there, because you're seeing a lot in what you do. I see a lot in what I do. It's interesting to, have these conversations. Other people might be, too busy. So we try to help them. Like, we want to share what we see, what we understand from the outside world.
I love you, pal.
I love you too, brother.
Thank you, man.